Slaves, inferior beings incapable of reaching the potential of the standard white man. I, Michael Renwick Sergent, am an intense proponent of the Atlantic slave trade. These dark-skinned laborers are secretly the salt of the earth. This does not mean that they need be free. As a merchant in Liverpool, I've seen my own business flourish from what I see as a direct impact of the triangular trade. Certainly, the men and women of Africa are lacking any kind of motivation. Though transportation for workers is not admirable, trade and economy grow wonderfully from the labor. Not to mention that the vicious governing bodies of the land of blacks are far worse than any light labor on a meadowy plantation under a gentle American master. For the aforementioned reasons, abolitionists have a baseless argument, and slave trade is most beneficial. Africans are indolent beings, hardly motivated for their own labor or industry. They whine and want every convenience of life, however, they do not respect the luxuries that the white man provides for them. Their barbaric nations leave them with a lack of motivation or education in order to do anything productive in society. I have heard of an African man named Olata Equiano who has apparently taught himself how to read and write. However, if he did so, this is only because of the motivation that this society in the West Indies has given him. Otherwise, he would be incapable and uncultured. Here we see indecent partying Africans. We should all think about how the slaves have helped our society. With them doing all our hard labor, we have more time to invest in other people's businesses here in Europe. These hardworking slaves have allowed us to obtain more profit thanks to all the tobacco, cotton, and sugar they grow. They may not see how grateful we are for what they give us, since they feel we don't give them enough. In return, but trust me, we give them enough. Bishop Tim Rhodes assures us of the religious background of slave ownership. It is permissible, he argues. With slaves, we have been able to get to where we are today, and if slavery is abolished, then who knows what more we could have had accomplished, and the Africans will be lost without us. It would be a loss for both us and the slaves. This diagram here illustrates the system of profit. The slaves are also being rescued from their country. Most of them are slaves of war and would be executed or be prisoners in Africa. The slaves have better lives with the master than with a corrupt, savage government. The slaves are also property, as Kimber argues. They have been sold fairly by Africa's leaders. This is a fair business and should not be abolished. With such claims being present, slavery is too central to our society for it to be abolished. The Africans would go back to their indolent, uncultured ways, lacking any motivation to be successful. The economy would be crushed as slave labor is needed in order to produce enough crops to be profitable. Africans would go back to their oppressive governments where they would likely be executed or constantly warring with other tribes. If abolition succeeds, we cannot be as progressive as we are today, nor would blacks be able to progress society.